Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? Welcome back into the Buccateers podcast as we're gearing up for a lot of fun convo today. It actually turned out to be quite the plate full of info that we have to run down here in your 2025 Tampa Bay Buccaneers offseason. We have free agency moves to get to. Bucs were active today. We have a coach/front office hiring that we're going to get into. We got another stadium on the horizon in Tampa. We got so much fun stuff to attack today here on the Buccateers, alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, the great J-Lo. How the hell are you, brother? Welcome back as always. Hope all has been well. I've seen you had quite a fun weekend in Disney. That's always a good time, brother. Now we're back here, so welcome back, my friend. Hope all is well.
Thank you, sir. Yes, it was a good day with my oldest. We had a good day at Disney.
Especially celebrating the Gators win.
Oh, my goodness. What anxiety, man. Man, that was a close one, man. Pulling my phone up every 5 minutes, checking my phone. But, yeah, that was a big victory for the Gators, man. Knocking off UConn, very tough basketball team, for the most part. And then they're on to the Sweet 16.
It's funny because, like, the heavyweights in the SEC have held their own in the tournament, right? And then, the kind of backloggers exited early, besides Arkansas. But to me, Arkansas is better than what their record was. One of their best players is hurt for the whole year, obviously. So now you're seeing the tournament shape up. You're seeing it dive into place, and you're seeing it fill out, and you're seeing the offseason continue. That's a beautiful thing if you're a sports fan. The offseason, other sports help get you through the offseason, right? Like we had NFL free agency, and then next thing you know, you have March Madness sprinkled in. Now we have baseball moves happening and so much more on the horizon. But J-Lo, we do have a lot to get to today, including a lot of Bucs news, including news that we have been on the show in particular asking for to happen this offseason. Here on the Buccateers, we have requested something to happen, a signing to happen, a re-signing to happen, and today it did, J-Lo. As Christopher Cole says, afternoon, peeps, LFG, afternoon, Christopher. We love having you here on the Buccateers, brother. But, J-Lo, that move, if you're a listener of the show, you know it by now, but if not, we'll refill you on it. On March 4th, let me pull up my beautiful X here if you want. I'm going to plug me as well, Tampa Tones on X. You could follow me there. But I tweeted this on the 4th, J-Lo, to the great Greg Allman. I said this. I said, I would like Opeta back. It was no guarantee he wouldn't have been the Bucs starting left guard if it wasn't for injury. Cheap, familiar depth. Now, I tweeted that on March 4th. Again, on March, let's see what this is, March 13th, to the great J.C. Allen, friend of the programs, I tweeted, wouldn't mind bringing Opeta back. You and I have talked about it extensively on the show, bringing Opeta back. Just not because he's a quote-unquote home run piece, a building block piece, or, a Tristan Wirfs Jr. or any of that nature, But J-Lo, you and I know as well as any Bucs fan, when we won the Super Bowl, half the battle was familiar depth trench, like Josh Wells types of the world. And you end up needing those guys. You never know if you do. Obviously, we signed our Charlie Heck, our new swing tackle, the other week, and now we get our interior veteran O lineman, who was at one point ahead of Ben Bredesen last season in terms of the pecking order, in terms of the depth chart. So, J-Lo, I'm a big fan of our request getting fulfilled, bringing back Sua Opeta for not only O-line depth, but familiar depth, and not only familiar depth, cheap familiar depth, J-Lo. I think this move was a no-brainer for this Bucs team.
No, absolutely. For a guy who unfortunately had a really bad injury last season, which, pretty much didn't get the opportunity to even play in the preseason game. But at the same time, bringing a guy like that back who knows the system, he knows the coaches, and Kevin Carberry and also Deguchi as well. So you get familiarity there. And it's always good to have veteran backup depth. You never know. Injuries happen in the NFL. So now you get Sua Opeta back, who I think is a good vet. And he will provide, great depth in case, God forbid, one of our guards goes down and he'll be ready to go in there. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Yeah, we'll take that any day of the week. Again, former Eagle, Bucs are second landing stop, and now he's going to be the guy. If Bredesen goes down, if Barton goes down, if Mock goes down, they'll reevaluate their O-line. If they got to move a guy like Bredesen to center, as he's had experience at center, they could plug Opeta at left guard or Eli Klein at left guard and move Opeta. They could do a plethora of things now, J-Lo. This gives them versatility on the offensive line. I'm a big fan of the move. I'm always a big fan when you have versatile big men opportunities. And to me, that's the way an O-line gets created effectively, is when, okay, yeah, not saying it's ideal, but the Bucs lost Tristan Wirfs last year. You plug and played, and you survive with a guy like Justin School. And I think Opeta gives you that opportunity where if you, Chris hits the nail on the head here, leveling up the depth, which is something that the Bucs lacked forever. Forever, I mean, anywhere from the years of pretty much 07 to 2019, they couldn't really get the key depth in here to make the Bucs go to the next level. Now, these little moves add up. They don't seem like much on the forefront, but, they bring in a Kendall Valdir to shore up the defensive backs group. They bring in an Anthony Walker to shore up that inside linebacker role. Guess what the Bucs needed late last year? An inside linebacker due to injuries, due to ineffectiveness, due to other things. Their depth last year was banged up. It was ineffective. I thought J.J. Russell played okay. But other than that, I thought KJ Britt was not good. Servachier Dennis went down like a rock. I was a fan of, the cat they brought in later, Jones, who helped shore up the back end, former Atlanta Falcon. I think he stepped in and did okay. But J-Lo, I think that position, especially not only last year, but the year before that, you've seen down the stretch KJ Britt get hurt. Devin White was playing ineffective. It never hurts to be too deep at a position. Look at wide receiver last year. Godwin went down. Evans went down. McMillan was still banged up, so he wasn't playing yet. Even being prepared at a wide receiver position, there's never so much thing as too much depth. Yes, Sua Opeta isn't a huge name, sure, but he's going to fill a pivotal role for this offense. And as Chris said, we're leveling up the depth, which is something we used to not do in Tampa. And it really bodes well in an effective way in the long run and the short run, because short term, if you need a starter, J-Lo, you feel comfortable with the guy like Opeta filling in. And in the long run, hell, you never know when one of those guys turns effective. Look at Robert Hainsey, who was at one point a backup, earned himself a $7 million payday. Look, Ben Bredesen was starting off as a backup to Sua Opeta. He goes on to earn himself a payday. So, J-Lo, it helps the Bucs short term if need with the gap fill. Look at Aaron Stinney during the Super Bowl. He ended up earning himself a payday, filling in for Kappa when hurt. These are things that not only benefit the team, J-Lo, but if the player gets the opportunity and thrives in it, it could very well benefit an Opeta to the tune of maybe a one-year prove-it deal, maybe a multi-year contract down the road. But to me, this helps the Bucs. This helps Sua Opeta. I think this is a win-win.
No, it is. I mean, Opeta was favored to win the job. I mean, at first he was winning the battle, so you can't go wrong with that. And like I said, he could be getting a payday if he has to step in for, God forbid, one of the guys goes down and then he plays well, then he gets a big payday like Robert Hainsey did. So you never know. I mean, these guys, he made a wise decision for familiarity purposes. That's
And
why I
he,
feel like that's going to really benefit, Sue Opeta in the long run.
And J-Lo, it hasn't only been him, it's been some defensive pieces as well. You've seen Kayvon Merriweather get brought back, Brewer, Greg Gaines, Anthony Nelson. This Bucs team is doing a good job. Sterling Shepard offensively, they're not only filling in the starter gaps, like, yeah, you bring in a Hassan Reddick to start, right? You bring in a Riley Dixon, the punter, to start, but you're also effectively filling in the depth roles, the linebacker depth, the edge depth. Things that might have been lacking this year, at least on paper for now, don't seem to be lacking heading into 2025.
No, it's not. And plus experience in Anton Walker, and then you got Deion Jones, who played pretty decent.
I think he played
And
good down the stretch,
yeah. So I mean, you got two veterans right there that'll be ready to, compete for a starting spot next to Levante David. Now that KJ Britt's gone, and they're going to draft another linebacker in there to even double dip even more, adding another young linebacking core. Savasi Dennis, obviously, to me, is Pilton and starter, but he's got to be able to stay healthy to keep that spot. If not, one of these veterans will come in ready to go. And I think it's a better depth than we had last year when you had two experienced linebackers that started in the past than bringing in these undrafted rookies and some of the guys we had last year. And no knock on J.J. Russell. No knock at all. I mean, I think he played the best he could have when he came in.
Agreed.
But now you got two veteran linebackers that can step in there if their number's called. But to me, I think it's Levante, Dennis to start the season, and then we'll see where it goes. If Dennis stays healthy, then hey, that's a bonus for us. I mean, we're fully depth to where, God forbid, if a guy goes down, the next guy will come fill in. And then you get this young linebacker to groom behind veterans like that too. So, the goal is you don't want to bring in these inexperienced players in there on defense where they got slaughtered, where these veteran offenses just kept going after them because they know, okay, this guy's never played much playing time in the starting field, so we're going to go after him. But anyway, I think we're doing a good job, building the depth on defense, which we all were hoping for.
And shout out to the great Zach Johnson, was on our show last week, Bucs by 30, the cruise guy, the memorabilia guy. He gave us a shout out saying, check out Tones and the boys, quote, tweeted our podcast and all. So we love that. We appreciate that. Can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. We have a lot of OGs tuning in at the moment. We have a fun chat right now. We hope it gets more fun, but Christopher Cole leading the way. Nobody be afraid to give us a comment or thought, and we'll get back to you right away here on the Buccateers. We don't shy away from having intervention with our commentators. So J-Lo Tampa Tones here, not only getting you through the Sue Opeta news and other Bucs moves, but more and more here in short order right now. Speaking of right now, we are live. You are either listening on Facebook or YouTube. You could catch the instant replay on Apple, Spotify, Google, and so much more. And we're enjoying an off season, bringing you guys all this Bucs coverage. We did make a front office / coaching move. Not sure how to quite clarify that yet. We'll know more once his true title with the Bucs gets revealed. But J-Lo, something getting revealed over the past couple of days is George Steinbrenner Field, home of the Yankees spring training, home of the Yankees in the springtime, is transitioning into the Rays' summer and fall home. And it's kind of cool looking. Two Tampa sports teams right next to each other, sharing stadiums. You got the Rays, you got the big Taj Bradley and Shea McClanahan Merrill's out. You got other things taking place, J-Lo. Being a local there, being a native, how does it feel having two Tampa stadiums right by each other? And that's kind of cool. You used to be riding on Dale Mabry Highway and you see a Yankee stadium and it's like, ugh. Now you're seeing a beautiful Rays stadium.
Oh, it's very exciting. This is what we've been waiting for a long time, to have the Rays play in Tampa. And I think whenever the team sells, the ownership's going to see that, and then they'll build in Tampa. But for the most part, I could be really more excited for not just the fans, but the players. I think they're excited to play more outdoor in Tampa in front of the fans and all that stuff. I feel they're going to sell a lot more tickets just because not only just the size of the ballpark, but the fact that it's in Tampa, and you're going to get more fans and want to come watch the baseball game and watch the Rays play. And just wait till September when the Rays are still playing at Steinbrenner and you got a Bucs game going at the same time. I'm more excited for that. I might just try to pull a double robbery, go to the Rays game, and then go to the Bucs game right after. Who knows?
Yeah, a double decker. I have one of those coming up, a little different type, but I have this coming up April 4th, the Cubs home opener, going to that at 1:20. Then me and Olivia have a Bulls game at night. So that'll be a fun 1:20 Cubs game, 7 o'clock Bulls game. We'll see if I make the fourth quarter. I hope to, but that's a different story. Christopher Cole says opening day is sold out for the Rays. That's a beautiful thing. I know a lot of people were jibber jabbering about pricing and how it's high for the Rays and how blah 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 yada yada this that. You got to remember, it's a unique experience. It doesn't have a lot of tickets available to the experience, and compared to other stadiums, baseball teams, it's really not that bad of a price. So I know it seems a little unfathomable for the Rays fan base, but with the uniqueness of the stadium, the location of the stadium, and comparative to other MLB teams, it's really not that bad of a price. So that would be really cool afternoon to see Ray J. Steinbrenner Field double decker. Now the Rays schedule is a little funkier this year. It's got a lot of its home games in March, April, and then in September when the weather does get a little cooler. They try and stay away from Steinbrenner Field July through August and a lot of June too with the heat. So it'll be interesting to see how it rocks and rolls, how it shakes out. But you're not only going to have one sports stadium in Tampa this year. Well, you'd always have Amalie Arena, but you're going to have Amalie Arena, Raymond James Stadium, and now Steinbrenner Field, your home of the Tampa Bay Rays, the neighbor of Ray J. I hope it survives on game days this fall, Jay, though. I'm hoping it really does stand up for itself.
Oh, you and me both. I think it will. Like I said, it's a exciting day for the Rays. They get to see the Rays play in Tampa. At the end of the day, that's what most of us fans want. And I think the commissioner of the Major League Baseball is going to see that, and he's going to push either Stu or whoever the new owner is. You need to build in Tampa. Simple as that.
Yeah, and Stu, I think it's just a thing at this. He needs to get rid of the team, and I think he knows that. When you're having all these political figures, when you're having fans, when you're having pretty much everybody in the business saying, "Hey, look, thanks for what you did for us," because I will say this: he did get the Rays on track. He with not a big spending budget, he got them playable, compatible on the field. But at days end, if you're not going to take that to the next level, which he seems like he's not willing to do, it's always going to be a hindrance on the franchise. Look at the Bucs, look at the Lightning, but let's take a look at the Bucs in particular. They had a good receiving room. What did they do? Bring back Sterling Shepard, draft Jalen McMillan last season, obviously. They'll probably look to keep adding to that. Look at other points. They just exhaust some early draft prospects in certain positions, still bringing a guy like Hassan Reddick. Running back room, they had Rashad White. Let's make it better by getting Bucky Irvin. Let's retain Sean Tucker. The Bucs continue to do things that elevate their game, boost their depth, and make their roster really, really strong. Where the Rays kind of take the opposite approach, right? They kind of settle for mediocrity. Oh, we got a decent lineup. We'll keep that. We got a pretty good pitching staff. We'll keep it that way. Our bullpen is okay. We'll keep it like that. No, go out. Do what the Bucs do. Bring in not only Baker Mayfield, but retain a Kyle Trask. Retain a Michael Pratt. Do that. Get comfortable with your depth. Make it great. The Rays aren't doing that. Until the Rays are able to go from average to great, they're really going to struggle. Not in terms of on the field production, but in terms of a fandom standpoint and in terms of trying to contend for a World Series, J-Lo, That's where the problem comes. Sure, they could compete for the playoffs every year. They have the best manager in the bigs, and they have a couple really good pieces. But until you get an ownership group that wants to take the franchise from pretty good to really good, to me, the Rays are going to be kind of stuck in this standstill pattern for the foreseeable future.
No, I couldn't agree more. And that's the problem with Stu Sternberg. He does not want to build upon what he has. He wants to go with a young talent. And yeah, I agree. Kevin Cash, he's one of the best general managers in the bids. But the problem is, you can only give this guy so much credit for developing young talent, but you need to give him some experienced players, especially in the batting lineup. The pitching of it will always be okay, on point. But you gotta build that lineup up until Starmer either adds some experience in there, spend a little bit more money. You'll never win a championship. You might get there, but you ain't gonna win it. Now with the Dodgers, what they got, that's just my opinion.
I agree. And Tampa's familiar with championships. You had the Bucs win one in 2020, all the way back in 02-03. You had the Lightning go back to back, and real quick, J-Lo, Lightning struggling a little bit, 3-5 in their last 8. They've dropped back to back games now to not the greatest of teams, Utah. Well, Vegas is, pretty good, but they've been struggling a little bit here of late. After having a really good month of February, it felt like the Lightning turned the corner. Quick thoughts on the Lightning before we get back to the pigskin as the great Olivia joins the program, but they have a game tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern. Do you think they clean up their mistakes of late?
I think they will, because the Penguins, they're out of the playoff race. They're not going to be going to the playoffs. So I think, the Lightning will get back to winning. I mean, I'd rather have them fall in the hole now in March and then get back at it come playoff time. That's just my opinion on that. And sometimes when you make trades for players and you try to adjust the lines and get it corrected, that can cause some complications. But at least they're doing it now. So when it comes to next month, they'll be ready for the playoffs wherever they play, whether it's Toronto, Florida, or even to get a wildcard team, they win the division. I mean, either way, we're going to get either Toronto or Florida. I already prepared for that. And I feel like they got the team with experienced core that knows what it takes to go the distance and go win a Stanley Cup. And I feel like we got the pieces we need, and we'll be ready. I can't wait. It's going to be a fun playoff experience. I think the Lightning will get over the hump and actually advance out of the first round, which they haven't done in 2 years.
Beautiful thing about Tampa sports, they're always competing, they're always fighting, they're always staying relevant. That's what the Bucs are doing this offseason. If you missed our intro, Sua Opeta has returned to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, presumably on a 1-year cheap deal. Obviously wasn't drafted here, but brought in last season in free agency. But we do love our draftees, and J-Lo draft rumors are starting to heat up. It's that season, less than a month away officially from the NFL draft. Cue the music. So we're nearing the corner here. What say you in the world of J-Lo? What do you want to see the Bucs do? Your general manager J-Lo here. Round 1 comes. Draft rumors are heating up. What do you do? Do you stay put? Do you trade up? Do you trade back? Do you move the pick for a veteran? Do you trade out around 1? I've seen the worst proposal the other day. I've seen a couple bad ones. Vita Vea, is part of one. I've seen the Bucs were trading down to round 2 with the Giants. That didn't seem realistic. So, you know what I wouldn't be disproved of? I kind of came up with this not rumor, but say if the draft board falls terribly unfavorably for the Bucs, say all their guys are gone, Edger's gone, everything they have their eyes on gone, I would entertain moving the Bucs first round pick this year for the Giants first round next year, for the Giants third round this year, and a day 3 Giants pick this year. So let me explain that quick. I don't think it's possible, but I've seen a rumor the other day saying maybe Bucs get the Giants second this year, Giants third next year, and Giants 7th this year for the Bucs first this year. The only way I would do that is if all our guys get taken, and we don't trade for the Giants second this, I'd rather have the Giants first next year, because next year is projected to be a much better class, and the Giants might struggle again this year. To me, their second this year doesn't really move a needle for me. If they're that thirsty for a guy like Jackson Dart for a quarterback, which I don't think they are, again, I'm talking hypotheticals, but if they do call Jason Light, I'd say give me your first next year, your third this year, and your seventh this year, and then we're in business. The third and the seventh this year would help the depth maintain stable and would help keep the youth of production flowing down the river of Tampa, J-Lo. So that's why I say this year's third and seventh. While could you imagine the Bucs having 2 first-round picks next year? Now, I'd rather use it this year if one of our guys are there, but this is, God forbid, all our guys are gone. Giants come calling for Jackson Dart. I think that scenario becomes interesting if and only if that happens. Our guy Rodney says trade up and draft pass rusher. Now, do you like what Rodney recommends? Do you like what I recommend if our board's gone? How would general manager J-Lo handle the Bucs draft pick in round 1?
The only way I would trade up for a pass rusher would be for Abdul Carter if he were to fall, which we all know is not going to happen.
Maybe if that injury thing stayed afloat.
Maybe fall the top 10 at best. I mean, the guy's pure talented. He's the best pass rusher, maybe even top 3 guy in the draft. That's the only way I would trade up. I wouldn't trade up for Resurraku from Boston College. I think he would fall to us or maybe come close to maybe 1 or 2 picks ahead. It just depends. But I say let the best player fall to us. And like you said, if it's not that great of a draft pick, then yeah, you trade down and try to get more picks. I feel if the Giants wanted Jackson Dart that bad, you're going to give me your second, not your third, your second next year's first instead of the third, then maybe get the seventh. It just depends. I feel 2 seconds in a first next year would be more doable for me than a third, if that makes any sense at all. That's just me. But as far as I think the Bucs are going to stay put, they're going to wait. And I wouldn't even oppose to maybe drafting one of those receivers if they're available. You never know. I would be all for it, you know. That's another thing to throw out there, even though I feel like it's going to be all defense. But, like, if one of those receivers, like the dude from Ohio State, what his name is, he's like a Chris Godwin 2.0, why not add more depth? You never know. If he fell, you know what I mean? If all options were off the table, that's something I'd be open to. You know, you take the best player available at that point. But if you get a trade-off from the Giants, like you mentioned, then that depends where that depends. I mean, do you really want to wait that long to pick, or you get 2 second-round picks, which I think Light has hit home runs on in the second round more than the first, if you ask me.
I agree with you. We got a text into the show. Tones, what in the world is your hat? It's a Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, actually. They're the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. It's a big old shrimp holding the state of Florida. So I've always said minor league baseball teams have the coolest logos in sports. To me, this Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp hat was too good to pass up. Trade back 3 or 4 spots and load up on more picks, which brings me to my next question, J-Lo. Do you see the Bucs making any draft day trades, whether it's day 1, day 2, day 3? We see Jason Light all the time moving up for Wirfs, moved up for Cade Otton, always squirming around, whether it's round 1, round 4, round 5, moved up for Zion McCollum as well. Whether it's big or minimal, do you see Light shuffling the deck at all on his draft card, on his draft board, if he sees a quote-unquote Jason Light guy available a little later than projected?
And that's very possible, too. I mean, I could see Light making a move. Like, I know they like a Raku who left from Boston College. And like I mentioned earlier, if he's like a pick or 2 ahead of us, I could see Light pulling the trigger and surrendering a 4th to try to get him. Because I feel like he'd be a difference maker in the edge room, in my opinion. Because that was our biggest issue, that we need D-line, we need to go in the trenches to get after the quarterback to help our DB and secondary out. Or the guy from Georgia, Starks. He's another guy I feel you can have in that DB room. But to me, I think the Bucs are more focused on the trenches and getting another pass rusher in there. And I think Raku from Boston College, who's been really talked about a lot, would be the target to trade up for. on my opinion on that. Because I feel like Mike Green, no, not happening. Of course, Carter, my dream pick, ain't gonna happen. But to me, I feel like Arozaraku would be the main target in the first round for the Bucs.
And Azaraku today also made it known that he mentioned the Bucs first as any team that he met with at the combine or just met with in general. So there's smoke there, which often builds to fire. But Ronnie says we lost almost every game because we couldn't stop anybody. And Ronnie, that's exactly why the Bucs are attacking on the defense. They're letting some bodies go. JJ Russell, great to have you here. If you want to come back on the practice squad for cheap, we'll be open to that. But if not, see ya. KJ Britt, thanks so much for playing. Jordan White, it was a cute reunion. The Bucs are not afraid to move on from some of these guys. Mike Edwards, great having you as a Super Bowl hero. You did your work here. Joe Tryon-Shoenka, thanks for nothing. They're moving on, and they're building up depth, and they're attacking it defensively, Ronnie. I think we're seeing that right before our eyes. Kendall Velder, defensive back. A lot of Detroit fans are pissed when he left. They brought him in at the cornerback room. Brees Hall, not to be confused for each other, but the Bucs brought back the former Jet corner, got hurt all of last year, much like Opeta. He got brought back for defensive depth. Anthony Walker, Hassan Reddick. You bring back Nelson, you bring back Gaines, you bring back Brewer. The Bucs are making and then in the draft, I think they'll only go one offensive spot. I think you're going to see cornerback, and this is in no particular order. I think a corner, I think a safety, I think a linebacker, I think an edge, I think an interior D lineman, and then either a wide receiver and or O lineman. I think that's the Bucs draft board. They have 6 picks, 1 offensive pick, 5 defensive picks. So Ronnie, you're right, but the Bucs are addressing that. And J-Lo, I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. The defensive player of the year, not only on the Bucs, but in the NFL, if he stays healthy for the entire year, is going to be Kalijah Kancey. That is my hot take. That's my bold prediction. If Kalijah Kancey has a 17-game season this year, I think he's going to be named the defensive NFL player of the year.
Agreed. I think I couldn't agree with you more. If he stays healthy, he can definitely be a double-digit sack guy, and I think it's time for him to make that known. The guy's a talented player. It's just unfortunately, those calf injuries are such a pain in the rear to get by. So hopefully he'll get the right trainers to work with him this summer, get him ready for the season, and I think you're absolutely right. He can be Defensive Player of the Year. Him, Vita Vea, maybe add another D tackle from the draft. There's so many of them, so many prospects you can go get, or even get one as an undrafted free agent. That's where I feel you have that in depth. And then Logan Hall, you can't sleep on him either. He's another guy, contract year. So, these players are going to play hard for a contract. And this could be the year we see Kalijah Kancey finally take off and get more than 10 sacks.
Yeah, our guy Ronnie says our dream pick Carter. That is a dream. Me and J-Lo have talked about it. Sadly, an unrealistic dream, but it is a dream. And if we had him, man, but hey, maybe a bit.
Can you imagine, bro? Oh, man. But anyway,
that's why I think, man, Titans better take him or that's screwed up. And if they let him slip to Cleveland, him and Myles Garrett together, oh boy. Oh boy, would you imagine being a quarterback in that conference? Corey says, now how do we know it's not the D tackle from Michigan? I think he means big man Graham up the middle, Mason Graham, that is.
He'll be gone. He won't be near.
A couple things. I think A, he'll be gone. B, obviously, Jason Light likes his edge, D lineman, O lineman, trench guys round 1. But I think we'll wait till round 4 or 5 to get a defensive lineman. I think we will draft one. I think that's a no-brainer. I think the Bucs have proved that they do that time and time again. But right now, given the status of this Bucs roster, I don't think a D lineman round 1 would be as critical as an edge, linebacker, or defensive back in round 1. Later in the draft, I agree. And Mason Graham ain't even going to be there regardless, as J-Lo said. I mean, if he is, God bless him, then sure. Maybe you do take him and see what the hell happens. But it's not a position of need because you do have Logan Hall. You do have Vita Vea. You do have Kalijah Cansey. You brought back Greg Gaines. You brought back CJ Brewer. You still have Mike Green under contract. You still have Adam Gotsis under contract. Little birdie rumor has it that Anthony Nelson might be playing more snaps with his hand in the ground this year. Quietly turning into a Will Golston type of Buck. Already 6 years as a Buck. Just signed another 2-year deal. Before you know it, he'll be here 8 years. But I think Will Golston might be back still. So what role? J.C. Allen said he might be open to any sort of role. So I think a Mason Graham not only isn't going to fall to the Bucs, but even if he did, sure, Jason Light might draft him, but you don't need him because I think Logan Hall is coming into his own. I think Kalijah Cansey is one of the better D linemen in football, and I think Vita Vea is already a certified bona fide star, J-Lo. So, yeah, maybe if he fell, outside chance because, best player available, sure, type thing. But let's not forget, last time the Bucs tried that whole BPA thing was a guy named O.J. Howard. You might rather, sure, yeah, get the best player available between the positions you need. But, if you don't need it, maybe not. Now, I wouldn't be mad if the Bucs took him if he fell because then you go Graham, Vea, Cansey, and then you got Logan Hall coming off the bench, which would be insane. I just don't see that happen.
To me, it's edge, safety, or corner in the first round. That's what I think it is. You can draft a corner in the first round who's obviously going to play right away and push Jamel Dean, to play better. If not, Dean would be a good,
Another good point. DT is supposedly very steep. So you could find one round 4, round 5, J-Lo, with maybe a second or third round grade.
I mean, give me the kid from Nebraska.
Yes.
Give me that guy in the 5th or 6th round. Or not, I'm sorry, when I was 6th, but in the 5th round, give me that kid. You put him in with speed in there. Woo! But,
and we talked about him briefly because our Nebraska native mentioned him a couple weeks back, and I said I think you could probably get him, in the mid to later rounds type guy. And nothing against him, but Ty Robinson, that is. I think you could get him in the mid to later rounds. Now, if you look early on in the draft, there are a ton of D linemen. I mean, Jordan Phillips is a notable one. Shamar Turner, Jordan Birch, Sylvian Jones, Joshua Farmer, CJ West, Deion Walker. This is a deep group. Shamar Stewart, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon. So, give me the Nebraska kid later in the rounds is right. I don't need to overdraft one, especially because really, if you draft, to me, I would draft a corner, linebacker, or edge because those guys would all have a chance at starting, right? Now, if Todd Bowles is saying what's true, Tyke Smith is going to be bigger picture safety. I think they still draft the safety as well, but guess what? They got a cat by the name of Antoine Winfield Jr. in round 2 of an NFL draft. He started right away. I think Winfield and Tyke, along with the rookie back there in rounds 2 through 7, could be a formidable safety combo. You also have Izzy who's familiar with safety. You also have a guy named Banks on the practice squad, my guy Rashad Wisdom, who the Bucs put some faith into. So round 1, I would hope for either a corner, a middle linebacker, or an edge. Again, I wouldn't get pissed at anything because this team is proven enough that it is smart enough to make those picks. But between Merriweather, Izzy, Tyke Smith, and Winfield, I'm okay with wait into the mid-rounds on a safety. Now, to me, if you take a linebacker round 1, instant starter next to Levante David.
Yep.
Then you got Servachier Dennis and Anthony Walker and Deion Jones as linebacker depth. If you take an edge, he might push Yaya Diaby into being an extra guy, or the edge guy might be a specialist. But regardless, he's going to have a path to a lot of playing time alongside a guy, Hassan Reddick, alongside a Yaya Diaby, because there's no guarantee that Braswell plays a ton. And then, as we said, Nelson might put his hand in the ground more. So, however the cake lays, J-Lo, I think I'm all for taking a safety. I just don't know if I want it to be round 1.
Only if it's the kid from Georgia, Starks. He's the only one.
And that would fit the bill. I'm a fan of finding a path to playing time. A safety would absolutely have a path to playing time.
Because then you create a whole package to where you can move Taki to nickel once in a while, put starts at safety, or vice versa. I mean, that to me would make more sense if you would go safety, if you get a guy that starts. But to me, it might just be linebacker or corner. You know, I know the gentleman from Alabama. I know
Jihad Campbell.
Yeah, G.I. Campbell. I know you like him a lot, for the most part, and I like him too. But supposedly he had like an injury. He had like a tricep or some kind of injury that might hold him out a little bit. I heard someone reported it. I can't remember who it did, but I have to look more into it. If he's injured, I won't feel comfortable taking an injured player in the first round like that. Now in the second round, yes, by all means, I'll take him. But
Yeah, and he did have a shoulder injury. It's saying he should be okay. You know, but you know, it does raise some red eye. But again, at this point too, you don't know what's getting leaked by agents. You don't know what's getting leaked by other teams. This could be strategy to try and make a guy's value drop. Look at Nakobe Dean. You know, remember right before the draft, everybody was saying he's undersized. He would get hurt easily, this and that. Now he's a Super Bowl champion linebacker for the Eagles, right? So, and he's a starter for them too. Started 15 games in 2024 for the fellas. So, J-Lo, it's one of those things where you kind of got to be careful who you listen to. Not saying it's not a concern, because anytime you hear injury, you got to look into it. You got to dive deep. You got to do your medical evaluations. But it could be a potential hit job. It could be a pirate taking over the cruise ship type thing. You know, it's that time of year.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, I mean, whoever the Bucs take, I'll be happy with. I trust in like he'll make the right decision, you know, on who to pick to help this team, especially on the defense side of the ball. Because obviously, if you get a Campbell, obviously he's going to get a first crack at the starting position because that's obviously then injury prone. Or pretty much to me, the first three, maybe in 4 rounds, they're going to be guaranteed starters or definitely role players into the defense, in my opinion.
Happy anniversary to the Godfather and the great Barb Rubright as well, as they celebrate their anniversary today. Great listeners of the program, both just awesome people. Campbell won't be full go until October. Yeah, maybe, but you never know. Remember Chris Godwin all off season was supposed to not be ready. Granted, they rushed him back early that week when he got banged up again. But, you know, it's a little too early to tell timetables. Now, again, that could be a rumor, not saying it's untrue, but you take all this with a grain of salt right now is all I'm saying. But happy anniversary, and thanks to listening to the Godfather. We appreciate it greatly. We love the Godfather, we love Barb, and we love our listeners here. And we're talking draft as you guys are listening on Facebook or watching on YouTube or doing one of those things. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and turn the notification bell on. If you're catching the replay, you could catch it on Apple, Spotify, Google, or so much more. And the NFL Network always shows replays this time of year. Not a lot of draft replays. No thanks, Rodney. I'm good on Devin White. You know, I think he's a locker room cancer. I don't want him even as just a pass rush specialist. The guy ruined a great thing not only in Tampa, but look at Philadelphia, J-Lo. They cut him. They win the Super Bowl, right?
He didn't even see the field for Philly. I mean, he had some preseason games, but then he got beat out by the guy who got paid who deserved it. Braun beat him out, and now he's getting paid well, and Devin White's looking for a new home right now.
I don't need those he's going to cry, cause distraction and headaches. I love Devin White. I have his game worn jersey. Pops was a huge fan. We were Devin White fans, but everything run its course. Devin White in Tampa run its course. He'll never, ever, ever be back in a Bucs uniform again. I'm sure of that.
Maybe a fan in the stands. Who knows?
Yeah, Devin White coming to what has he done as a did he have like a 20-sack season or something that I'm unaware of? Like
I don't know, but he couldn't tackle for crap. After what Gardner Minshew freaking juked him out of the tackle. Remember he brought that tackle and scored? That's when I was fed up with Devin White. I said, if you
And
can't make
again,
it,
I think he could get after the quarterback, but it's kind of like a Joe Tryon Shoenka thing where it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe so, but think about it. The one great sack season he had in Tampa now, J-Lo, was all the way back in 2020 when we had Shaq Barrett, when we had Jason Pierre-Paul, when we had Vita Vea, when we had a 4 years younger Levante David, when we had all these pieces and depth, right? So, I mean, his game just changed. He couldn't last in Houston last year. He couldn't last in Philly last year. Houston hasn't brought him back, which speaks measures to me.
no, I couldn't agree more. I feel like, unfortunately, White's going to need a miracle. I think he'll get another opportunity to try out in the preseason, but I just don't see him being a starting linebacker again. Maybe somebody might utilize him as a pass rusher, but he burned his bridges here.
And it's
He
really
did.
sad because he was on the way to stardom, famed him here in Tampa, as Neil says, what it do, Neil? But Devin White is one of the sadder stories in recent Tampa sports memory. Talk about a beloved guy, surely on pace for the Ring of Honor. Then all of a sudden, attitude became a problem. Remember the one off season tweeting about wanting to be an Eagle, still under contract by the Bucs, crying to reporters, crying on Twitter, and then he didn't earn his keep on the field. Then what happened? The Eagles said, "Hey, I'll give you a prove it deal." He started crying with the Eagles, crying in Philadelphia. And next thing you know, the Eagles said, "We're good on you," and they win a Super Bowl. So again, I not only predict, but I guarantee Devin White will never be a Buccaneer again, as J Lo said. Maybe if he wants to be a fan in the stands, that's great. But um, he's just never going to be a Buccaneer again. Richard, well put. But J Lo, we were talking about the draft. It's in Green Bay this year at Lambeau Field. Thoughts on that? For those unfamiliar, let's just say Green Bay is a very, very small city compared to even a Jacksonville, compared to even a Tampa in terms of population. Green Bay is about as small as it gets for any sports franchise, J-Lo. So I'm very curious to see how one of the more crowded sporting events of the year does in such a small little area. Me and Olivia went to a preseason Packer game, and we could not get an Uber in, Uber out. We couldn't move. I don't know how the draft is going to fare in Green Bay, my friend.
They better figure out a game plan because they are going to be pretty full, probably populated in that stadium for the most part. I mean, it's in Green Bay. Woo, okay, whatever. I mean, I guess when after they saw all the pop that Detroit got last year, all those fans where you couldn't even stand anywhere. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it'll probably a one-time experiment, and then they'll probably won't do it again. They'll probably be like, okay, we're gonna go somewhere else. Shit, bring it to Florida. Take it to Tampa, Miami, or if you want to get Jacksonville some money, bring it to Florida. You'll get a lot of fans that want to go vacation, they go watch the draft. I mean, that's another option too in the future, in my opinion. But to me, it's gonna be a one-time experiment thing with Green Bay, and then I'll keep it moving and probably won't do it again.
Speaking of Jacksonville, speaking of Tampa, speaking of bringing it to Florida, the Bucs made a new signing for their front office, and that is Zach Beastline, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they nabbed from us, we nabbed from them. He spent 12 years with Jacksonville, J-Lo. He's set to become the director of football research for the Buccaneers. His highest title is director of game management. Pewter Report says presumably Beastline could help in a similar area for Todd Bowles and Bucs, which certainly could use an upgrade. Again, the Bucs made it known, Todd Bowles made it known they wanted to hire help there, and now they do. J-Lo, thoughts on the Zach Beastline hire, one of these young football minds? So, Jacksonville gets Liam Cohen and Van Dam, and the Bucs say, hey, not so fast. Mike Greenberg stays in Tampa. We're also going to take Beastline from you guys, too.
I mean, to me, this is obviously going to be the game management that we've been looking for to help Todd Bowles. Because that's one of his, I think, biggest problems is game management, was cost us football games. And I think, and if they're that confident in this guy, which I think they are, or else they wouldn't have hired him, I think it'll benefit Todd Bowles and help us win those close games. and quit losing these close calls and leaving time on the board. You want to run that clock out and then get the game winner, not just tie it and then you end up going to overtime and losing the ball game or losing by a field goal before time regulation's over.
Yeah, Richard makes a good point. LA is a melting pot of fans. Maybe that would be the perfect draft destination then, being a melting pot for the fans. Have a lot of fans there. Last little bit of the Zach Beesline topic on Pewter Report. Bucs Todd Bowles needs improvement with in-game management. Pewter Report says should be an immediate upgrade. As we have breaking news here, J-Lo, on the Buccateers. The great Adam Schefter says the Giants and Super Bowl winning QB Russell Wilson reached agreement today on a 1-year deal up to $21 million. So Jameis Winston is a Giant, and now Russell Wilson is a Giant. Jameis fans aren't going to be happy with that, are they?
No, they're not. But hey, he might push Russell Wilson. I mean, obviously the Giants giving up. They're not going to win on Rodgers anymore because he keeps playing around, not making up his freaking mind. I mean,
to me, this tells me, yeah, they're punting on Rodgers, but to me, this tells me they're also punting on drafting a quarterback.
That's what it's looking like. I feel they're not really sold on Shedeur Sanders because obviously Cam Ward's going to be gone before they get to their pick unless they trade up, which is a strong possibility. To me, Cam Ward's probably worthy of the top quarterback in this draft class.
Well, you know what, too? The Giants are thinking, hey, we're either going to get an Abdul Carter, we're either going to get Hunter, who's a generational talent, or a team that wants to trade us a plethora for that 3 pick to take Cam Ward. So the Giants might have the best of all 3 worlds right there, J-Lo.
No, and that's a good point because right now they need a bit more on depth. And now you got an experienced guy in Russell Wilson who's won a Super Bowl and been in 2 Super Bowl appearances. I could see them wanting to build up on their depth with this young talent that they got. So, hey, you never know. I mean, I think this is probably a smart move, safe move, because obviously you're not going to be able to compete against the Commanders or the Eagles at this point. So might as well go ahead and get a quarterback, like a bridge quarterback and draft one next year because it's going to be a lot more deeper than it is this year.
And again, they have Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Tommy DeVito. I just don't see them adding a 4th QB. Maybe late in the draft, but not in the top early rounds. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But going from Bucs adding Zach Beesline, and he should help with time management, to Jameis, who might not know a thing about time management. But new deals getting thrown around like crazy. Another new deal, J-Lo, is Under Armour inking agreement with the NFL. They're going to become a glove and cleat provider. So for memorabilia collectors or just uniform enthusiasts, Under Armour hasn't been in the NFL for quite some time now, J-Lo. Now they're going to be appearing again, cleats, glove-wise. Going to be interesting to see how many players flock to Under Armour. We know there's Adidas, we know there's Nike, and now Under Armour gets back into the mix.
I was at Under Armour in the past growing up. I've never been a knock on Under Armour. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of ideas and what might be better than what Nike has to offer. Looking forward to seeing how that works out for them.
Breadwinner J-Lo, we're going to get we're in the positives, but I got to add up our last show's breadwinners. I know we're doing well here, but do you have one? Think of one from anytime now through Saturday. We might be back Thursday. We'll talk about that briefly here when we go over the Buccateers schedule. But the breadwinner could be anything from now until the Saturday Showdown AM show. Who you got?
Give me Florida over Maryland. Money line. Florida is playing at a very high level right now, and I feel like they should be able to take care of business with Maryland and get in the Elite 8.
Yeah, so let's just see for the people. If you were to take J-Lo's advice right there on a Florida money line bet, you would get on a nice little $20 guy, you'd get a nice little $7 payday. So you'll take that. That'll make you that much richer. So I like that a lot, J-Lo. I think that's a good one to have. I'm going to go in the world of, man, there's so much to do. Women's. And prayers to Juju Watkins. That was scary as well. The best player in college basketball went down yesterday, and I was watching that game live. I may or may not have had USC woman minus 16.5, but regardless, seeing Juju Watkins take a spill, oh, thank God Kiki stepped up, but hearts and prayers go out to her, J-Lo. She just had that funny moment with Jaden Daniels the other day, and now sadly she suffers a big-time injury to the probable, well, maybe not anymore, but she was looking like the first overall pick in this coming draft.
Rough, man. Prayers out to her. You know, it's gonna be rough when you're playing at a high level and a tournament and all that, and then an injury happened. That's gonna derail. I mean, to me, she was smart. I mean, to me, I think she should play another year of college ball. But you never know. She may just go pro and, maybe take a chance. But I think with an injury like that, you want to go back to school for another year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Go back to school now. My breadwinner for the weekend, I'm going to the women college basketball. I'm going UConn and UCLA money line parlay. Taking a bunt here, I'm calling it $20 to win $9. UCLA and UConn. They've been running through the whole competition. UCLA has that nice looking lady Betts making moves in the paint. Should be a top pick. And then Paige Beckers on UConn is just a tremendous player as well. So J-Lo's going with the men's tournament. Florida money line over Maryland, 20 to win you 7. I'm going with UConn and UCLA women's money line parlay, 20 to win you 9. Upcoming Buccateers schedule. We will be back Saturday for our Saturday showdown as always. 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Central. We're going to have college basketball to talk about. NFL opening day is Thursday for MLB. NHL, NBA, just so much happening. Joey Nips will be back for that one as he is each and every Saturday as well. And you never know. Maybe we'll get a special guest here too. But J-Lo, final word for the Buccateers program, for the Bucs world. What is it, my friend? It was a fun time talking to you. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. Always great chopping it up, getting prepared for the draft, talking other sports and all. Baseball season's coming up. We'll see what happens with the Rays. Hopefully, with Shane McClanahan, unfortunately, going down on an injury, he'll be out for maybe probably about a month, and won't see him until like May or June. But I'm confident in this baseball team that they can compete with anybody in the majors. As far as their pitching rotation, is very elite to me. So it'll be fun to watch, man. Can't wait to talk a little bit of baseball with you in the future. But for the most part, big game for the Lightning tonight. Get back on track, get hyped over at Amalie Arena, beat the Penguins, and show them how bad of a losing organization they are right now. No disrespect. And go Bucs, man. We're getting close to the draft day. More is coming out with who the Bucs could take. I've been watching a lot of, shout out to Peter Report, Sports Illustrated, through JC Allen. Just great stuff they provide, for, to give me more lessons on these players and prospects we're looking at.
Yeah, I'm very interested and exciting to see where the rest of this offseason goes for the Bucs and for Tampa sports in general. USF men's basketball, my final word will be hires a new head coach. Sadly, Amir Abdur-Rahim should have never been gone. He passed away last year before last season. This year they could never get their foot on the ground. But now Brian Hodgkin, former Arkansas State coach, I want to say. Yep.
Yeah. It's a good hire. It's a good hire.
That's a good hire as well. I was hearing Tom Crean's name, which I thought would have been a good hire too. But hey, this is more of the up and coming type hire. And his record at Arkansas State shows that he went 45-28 there in 2 seasons. So if he could get USF into competitors, that'll be a beautiful thing. But we would be back on Saturday. We will be back on Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, maybe Thursday. Time will tell on Thursday. But maybe an opening day presser if Bucs news happens and so much more. But it's been J-Lo. It's been Tampa Tones here on the Buccateers. It's been a great episode talking draft. Thank you, Richard, Andrew, Neil, Rodney, and so much more. And we're excited to be here talking Bucs ball and more. We can't wait. You gotta keep tuning in this offseason. But God bless and peace out. J-Lo Tampa Tones. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs, go Bucs, go Bucs. It's a blessed day to be a Buccateer. We'll see you guys on the next pod. Peace. If I could find... where the hell is this thing? Oh, they changed this around like crazy. Here we go. See you. Peace. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Bucs fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.